Hello. It
Hello,
is
hello.
Wednesday. It is noon if you're on the West Coast, and that means it's time for another Courier Live. Today I have a special guest from Postman, and I will let them introduce themselves.
Hey, hello there. Hello, Hadrian. Hello, viewers. I'm Arlemi. I'm a developer advocate at Postman. What do? I do Postman stuff. I do API stuff, and I think that's pretty much what we are going to try to do during these streams.
Yeah. We're gonna play around with the Courier API and go through the different ways we can use Postman with it. I know early on I talked to Joyce, your coworker, so I know her from the before times, and she convinced me to make a Courier collection that's hosted up in what's the thing called?
The API network.
The API network. So if you go to the API network in Courier, darn, that's us, in Postman, and you look for Courier, then you can download that into your Postman client and start using our API pretty easily. But it's been a while since I've updated that, and we have some new APIs. One of them we'll probably talk about today, our new lists API. But yeah, let's get started. Before we went live, I gotta actually hit the button. Before we went live, we were actually going through my Postman client and looking at the Courier API copy. Let's see. I've got, yeah. So if you go to Postman, if you go to explore.postman.com/courier, that's going to be where our collection is inside Postman, and you can hit this run in Postman to move it to yours. So I guess where should we start?
So you said it's not quite up to date. I'm going to say I have not tried it yet.
Okay.
So my experience with Courier is pretty limited. So if anything, I would like you to start with just importing it and then running us through like what is there.
Sure.
What are different type of codes you can do, or you can even just view the documentation online if that's easier.
Okay. And hit this one. So before we started, I hit the button so you can hit the run in Postman, and I told it to use Postman for Mac because I have the client installed. But let's take a look at the documentation. I think it looks really similar to our documentation, which you can find at docs.courier.com. But we have the information, just a short introduction. We've got information about how we do auth. So we handle bearer auth, which is how I typically do it, but we also handle basic auth. So if you wanted to do token auth or bearer auth or basic auth, we support both of those. And then in this version, we have our Send API, our Messages API, Profiles API, and Preferences API. So in Send, that's what we use to send a notification. And so that's just a simple post to the Send API endpoint. The endpoint has changed, so that's one of the things that needs to be updated. We're now api.courier.com, but api.trycourier.app is still working. So it's not that big of a deal. We're just trying to change all the documentation, so future people will use that. Messages, I think in this one, there's currently only the get, where you can get a single message bringing back information from the logs. So for those of you who watched our episode with Tony, where we talked about the logs, the Messages API is how you programmatically retrieve all those entries. We have a few more endpoints now that we can use. Profiles, I think that's mostly stay the same. So whenever you are sending things in with Courier, you can set up profiles for the different recipients. You can put in things like their given name, their family name. You can add custom elements, anything you need to kind of merge that into the notifications that you're creating. But you can also, it's also where you store information for the different providers. So if you were going to send them an email, then they would need an email in their profile. If you were going to send them a push notification, they would need push tokens stored in there. And you can find all that information in our integration guides docs. And so that's for setting up the different profiles where you can retrieve them, you can update them, replace them, do a patch on them, everything you need to fill those out. And then the Preferences API, this is actually, this is an old version, and so the Preferences API has changed. So what you see here is not correct.
So a lot of work to do, basically.
Yeah, but hopefully not a lot, because we maintain an open API file.
That's a great thing. And I think so. Yeah, we did chat about that before, and about the fact that for now your open API was not very public, and I think you're maintaining it, right?
Yeah. So between me and the rest of the engineers, we're keeping that up to date, and that's what feeds our API reference. We're currently using README, readme.io as our host for our documents. But whenever we make changes to the API, we make changes to that file, and then I publish it to README, and that's how we get our docs.
Is that so I have two questions actually regarding the open API. First, is your API one-to-one to the functionalities you have on your web dashboard? For example, if I want to add a new type of message to be sent, like if I want to add a new email and then I want to add, this should also be an SMS. Can I do that through the API, or do I have to use the...
So there are some things that are not API, that are not traditionally API first. So anything around building the notification, because we have that WYSIWYG editor, with the blocks and everything. So there's no API around that. So if you want to add a provider to a provider or a channel to a notification, then you got to do that inside the Courier app. But the API will allow you to send the notification, pull back information on the logs, set up your profiles and your preferences, set up brands. So anything you can do with brands inside the UI, you can do in the API. And then the lists API is currently an API first implementation of it. So the UI for that is coming soon.
Cool. I was actually going to ask about that. That was my second question, which is, do you generate your open API from code, or is it more the other way where you have the open API and you generate stuff from the open API?
Yeah. So right now we're kind of adding to this giant YAML file that is our open API. So it's not kind of baked into the code and being generated. That might change in the future. It might not, but we kind of have a starting place right now in this file.
Okay. Yeah. And yeah, so you mentioned the list API. So we chatted about that a while ago as well.
Yeah.
What does it do?
Yeah. So the list API allows us to send a notification to a grouping of people. So previously, if you wanted to send a notification to multiple people, you had to make multiple API calls. So you would make the send call over and over and over again. What we have now is we have a list send endpoint where you can give it a list ID or a list pattern, and it will figure out the recipients and send the notification to all of them.
Is it a different, are you billing per API call? I'm not quite sure what's your pricing model.
Oh, yeah, we charge, our pricing is by notification right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so that doesn't change that, right? Like it simplifies the API calls.
It does, yeah. It simplifies the calls, and you can do some interesting things with segmentation with the way that we have the naming of the lists. Yeah.
Okay. Well, what do you want to get started with? I'm happy to help you with anything, Postman. If you want to update the collection first, if you want to include lists.
Yeah, let's see how easy it's going to be to update this collection. I have not I have not gone into this since I published this one, so I know that I have an account, and I know I'm logged into it on the client. I think I just used Google Auth because that's the easiest thing for me to remember. But whenever I created this, I guess I should say, when I created this collection, I did it all manually. So we didn't have an open API back then. But I think I like this idea of using it going forward because it will keep everything consistent.
Yeah.
But I think I think all of my examples that I put in here are are Pokemon themed. So those will be gone. That'll be sad.
We can re-import them after, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's fine.
Cool. So you have your Open API. So we can get started with Postman directly.
Okay.
So if you go within the app.
Back to the app. All right.
Different ways to do it, whether creating a new API or importing. So you say you have an Open API file, so we can go at the top left and click import.
All right.
And select your file. If it's a URL, you can do that as well. If it's a...
Yeah, it's one of the things that we're looking at doing is putting this Open API file somewhere public so people can access it. And then it would also help with generating our docs and things like that. But for the time being, I have it pulled up locally. So I'm just going to drag it over here. All right.
So it gives you the option to import as an API. So that's a new construct we have. It's probably like more than a year old in Postman. So Postman used to be all built on top of collection, and now you can actually have an API or an Open API spec as a source of truth for all the collections that you generate from it.
Okay.
So it says it imports it as an API, but you can also select to directly generate a documentation from it. There's a few advanced settings, and I think it's about what do you want to use for the folder structure. What do you want to use for the examples? You can usually leave that as default.
Okay.
And click import.
Okay. So
Yeah. So this is the you can actually look at them. So the indent character for your content in the collection. If you have redundant folder, you can collapse them. And I think if you keep scrolling, you have the examples. For example, like request parameters and response parameters. So if you already have examples in your Open API schema, then you can choose to go with these ones. Otherwise, actually, I can't remember what's the other options. But if you look at, okay, so from the schema itself. So for example, the difference with that is if you don't have an example, your schema will have a type. So it will infer from the type of your variable or of your thing what needs to be the response.
Okay. Well, I think we put a lot of examples into the file, so I think that will work.
Yep.
Yeah. So I'll just go ahead and click import.
How big is this file in megabyte or in kilobyte?
Well, it's done. Let's see. What if I do? So it looks like it is 94K on disk.
Okay, that's fine. So I think we have a 10 megabytes limit in terms of generating from an API.
Okay,
so you're fine.
You can see the file size is low, but like if you look at the number of lines, it's just there's a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've imported it.
Yeah. So there's two things, right? I told you it would be imported as an API. So if you go in the APIs tab now.
Okay.
You actually have it here, and if you click on it, so you have first an overview of what it is, the type, the format, and then you have the list of the API elements. For example, at the bottom, you have the Courier API reference. It's the documentation that has been generated from it.
Okay.
So what I can tell is that you don't have the up-to-date version of the app because now we have some other functionalities to allow you to watch an API, for example, for changes and stuff like that. But that's fine.
I don't have the most version.
I don't think you do. But I mean, it's recent enough anyway. Like that's fine. And then so if you go to the define tab in
define, yeah.
So that's your schema. You've got validation to it. So yeah, it does look like a lot of lines. I'm not gonna lie. It's looking at the scroll bar.
And we're going. Oh, we got 2513.
That's not bad. It's not bad.
Not terrible.
So if there was an error, you would get like schema validation there.
Okay.
But basically now this is your source of truth. If you were to update the schema, what you can do now, if you go to the develop tab.
Develop. Okay.
So your documentation is here, and you can click to validate. And this will check whether it is in sync between the OpenAPI schema and the collection. And for example, now I'm pretty sure it's going to complain about the examples because we actually generate some values for you. But if it's not in sync, then you can click here, see what's different, and update as you go. So all you have to do is update the OpenAPI schema, and then it generates or propagates the changes to all your collections.
So is it looking at the file that I have locally?
No, so it's looking at the one that you have here. What you can do, the easiest thing, you can have a two-way sync between Postman and GitHub. So if you had your file on GitHub, I don't know where you're planning to post it eventually.
Yeah, it's currently in GitHub, but it's in a private repo.
Okay. But if it makes it a public one, you can actually sync that with Postman.
Okay.
Any commit that you make or any changes that you make to the GitHub one will be added here, and then you can propagate that to your different collections.
Okay. Yeah. So, but like now, if we make changes to it and I do a get pull locally, am I going to have to like re-import it? Or...
Yeah, you would have to re-import or like copy paste, like go to define, copy paste the content again.
Okay.
This is not something we have currently.
All right.
The sync with the link.
Curious about these issues.
Yeah, so you can actually go ahead and click review. So that opens like a web version which actually lists the changes. So basically that's what I meant, right? Like it's actually looking at the examples, as far as I can tell. And you can see that it's adding them, and it's adding like the different types, etc. And I'm pretty sure it's going to be the same for all of your endpoints. Is it just indentation actually that it's complaining about?
Is it complaining? Like really?
Yeah, it might just be that.
Well, hold on. What is this? Name settings. Did this change this into JSON?
So you have the diff. So what does it remove? It removes this. Yeah, I really feel it's just
it's just
yeah,
okay.
It's just indentation, I think. For this one, so for example, here you can see it replaces with a value because I'm guessing you have that value.
Oh,
the type of cursor must be.
Yeah, I think this is one of the examples we did because like if you do a request and there isn't a cursor, then it's going to be null. So like null is a value that it can be, but it's probably reading this cursor value from some example that we have inside the thing.
So you can either scroll on the right, or if you scroll on the left, you can see if you have something else. Yeah, from what I can tell, it's all examples.
Mm-hmm.
So you have the option to select all changes and push the changes to the collection, or you can leave it as is. It's up to you.
Okay. Well, we can. I mean, it's not going to hurt anything to leave it as is, right?
No, that's all good.
All right. So we can just go back to the here.
So now we can actually look at the collection. So if you go back to your tab collection and you look at the new one, so a lot more requests compared to the previous one. So we still have messages, events. We have the lists one now.
Yeah, we got lists.
Yeah. And so now two options, right? Like you can either edit inline here and you can click on your different endpoints. So for example, let's open the get list.
Okay.
And you could edit the description by clicking the title, get list with the small arrow. Yeah.
Oh.
And here you can add some markdown. You can edit that to change that. So you can do that for each request in the app.
Okay.
Or what you can do at the collection level, if you click if you over Courier API reference, the title of your collection, and you look at the three dots on the right,
okay,
there should be a publish docs option.
Publish docs?
Yeah. So now you have the option to edit it inline. So you can go ahead and publish it without adding it to API network or Postman templates. Therefore, it's just a private link to you.
Okay. So just go ahead and hit publish collection.
And okay, so it's published. Okay. the toast is gone. I was not fast enough. That's fine. So we can just go back to Postman. We'll get that link from there.
Okay. So
again, three dots. Actually, no, sorry, the arrow thing on top of the three dots, yeah. And view in web.
View in web.
Yeah. Okay, so that's the online editing. So you can edit the same. If you click the title, it's going to open and you can put some markdown. If you click the descriptions, you can click and edit it on the go. You can edit the name of folders. So you can see there's a little the A and a cursor on the right. So if you change that, you can change the name of the request from here.
Okay.
So that the idea of that is just to give you a better kind of view as to how the people will see it, because that's actually how the documentation will show on the web.
Okay.
Whereas the one in the app is not how people will actually see it when they consume your documentation. So it's just another way to edit it.
Right. Okay. And then I guess it's showing this like profiles recipient ID because all of the profiles endpoints take that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's actually an interesting one. So I think when you generate, there's two ways that to name the folders. You can either choose path, which is the default one, and this is why you actually have the variables that are in the folder names. And the other one is tags. So it's actually getting the tags, which usually is the one to go with.
Is there a way that we can change that, or do we have to like start over?
We can regenerate. So you don't have to re-import everything. You can just generate a new one from the API.
Okay, so we need to go back to the app to do that.
So go back to the API tab.
Okay.
And your Courier API.
Close that. All right.
And then so here you can click Add Documentation again on the right.
Oh, add documentation.
Yep. Create new, and this time we make sure that in the advanced settings we choose tags instead of path.
What name your collection? I don't remember doing that last time.
No, it's good. So the last time it generated as we were importing it, so it inferred the name from the name of the schema. But you can call it documentation Courier API or Courier API docs.
Okay.
Or just documentation. Cool. Let's go advanced settings. So it's at the bottom, I think it's the last option. Yeah, and here you can actually see tags. Cool.
And create documentation.
Let's see. Actually, that's a good one to compare how they differ. So if you go back to collections now and open the Courier API docs.
We get 32 requests now.
That's interesting.
Okay.
So now you have them like sorted by. So I'm guessing you probably have 32 because one may be tagged for two of them.
It might be because like as part of lists, it added. Let's see. Well, actually, let's expand that. Yeah. So whoop. Is it? Oh, yeah. So we got list API here, and we got list API here.
So I think one of them is it just the?
So we could have something in the
Open API case sensitive.
Yeah. Because I feel so. Yeah. So that might be tagged twice because it also has something to do with lists. But it's up here in the Send API. Is there another one?
So now it's the search for the doubled one, the duplicate one.
So that's all list. Oh, profiles. Here we go. Yeah, because it's part of adding to lists. We added a route to profiles, so it kind of has something to do with lists. So we probably tagged it. So like there's the list send, and then the route here in profiles that it gets all the lists that the recipient is subscribed to.
So I guess that makes sense, right? Like if you generate by tags, then someone will be only interested in the list API, but they still want to have that info.
Yeah.
Same, like if they look at the profiles API, they do need to have that info. So you kind of need to have it at both places. But that's interesting, actually, to see that it generates different things for both. I don't think I've seen that before.
And then we got the weird.
Yeah, this.
And we have API here instead of uppercase. Okay.
Okay, so that's your docs. It's there. Now it's up to what do you need to document in there? Do you want to add examples? Do you want to? I don't know. Actually, could we add a mock server, or do all your calls require like authentication?
All of our calls do require an auth token.
So actually, let's have a look at your post send for Send API.
Okay.
So now if you can actually collapse the description at the top. So if you click back on the title, yeah. So at the right, you can see at the right of the title, you've got examples 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the examples that are like coming from the
response examples, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's the base URL? So if you hover on it, you should see. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So because it's sending against your production URL, obviously, if you don't put your credentials, it's going to come back with an error.
Mm-hmm.
What we can do for people to kind of try the URL without, or try the service without really having to put their credentials, etc., is create a mock server.
Okay.
On that. So we're already getting out of track. It was not planned, but I think that would be cool to show anyway.
Yeah, it's fine.
So again, if you go back to Courier API docs and you click the arrow on the title of the collection.
Yes, this one.
Yeah. Then you have a mocks tab.
Mocks, yeah.
There's tabs everywhere. Now, it's not the first time I'm working.
Flyouts and tabs.
Yeah, it's tabs everywhere.
Yeah.
And there's a create a mock server thing.
Okay.
So you can give it a name, mock Courier.
Okay.
Cool. You shouldn't have to change any of these. You can make it private, which means to actually send a request to that mock, you would need to provide that X API key as a header.
Okay.
But let's not make it private to simplify the task.
Okay.
And create. Cool. So there's a mock URL. You can copy it.
This one. Okay.
Yeah. And close that. So now what we need to do, so you've got this base URL, right?
Yeah.
In the URL. So you can close that. And we need to change the value so it actually sends this. So I'm just not sure. Can you hover on the base URL again just not sure where it's coming from. So it's coming from your collection variables. So you can tell because there's like an orange C next to it.
Mm-hmm.
So again, let's go to your collection title, click the 3 dots. So the Courier API docs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Edit. And the variables tab.
Okay.
And now we can replace this value by the one that you've copied.
So the current value?
Yeah, current value.
Okay.
Cool, update. And now, if we send that request, so it should have updated the value. And if you send that, it should come back with an example. So that's the example of 400, I'm guessing?
Yeah.
And what do you require to get a good?
Oh, I guess we should probably. Well, okay. So we have an event. We have a recipient.
Oh, actually, I know why. So
yeah,
that's it. Actually, when you send a request against this, it's always going to go with the first one in the example list. So I'm pretty sure if you open the example list, the first one is actually okay. Let's have a look at okay and see how it looks. Okay,
so it's just going to return a message ID.
And it has a header. What's in the headers? Yeah, authorization, okay. And the body, I guess, is the same as the one we have currently, right? Yeah, okay. So let's make sure we have that header there. Basic credentials.
Oh, yeah, because this is basic. How do I get back to? How did I get here? How do I get back? Oh, it's
a new tab. So you can close the tab, actually. Okay. Oh, yeah, go back.
Oh, we got an issue.
Okay, so what that issue does, actually, while you mention it, every time you send a request, it validates against the schema as well. So it makes sure that whatever you send back is valid regarding to what you have in your schema. So it's complaining and it says, response header content type needs to be application JSON, but it found application JSON charset UTF-8. So that's because our mock server is actually returning that. I'm guessing your production one would not return that.
I'm not. I think we do application JSON, but I'm not.
Yeah, that would make sense. That I'm not quite sure why our mock server is sending charset UTF-8, but according to your Open API spec, that's not valid. So that's why it's telling you this is bad.
So we need basic auth. That's what that was looking for, right? And so
I think
set
so.
it there.
So you can even just go straight to the headers and put it there.
And so that was
You still have the tab open if you want to check quickly. It's the tab that says OK.
oh,
Authorization, basic.
object as a description. That's great. Okay, so I need authorization. Oh, darn it. Authorization, and
Then
now if we send, we should get the other one.
we should, but let's see what we get. We don't. Cool.
We don't. All right.
I don't know why. There has to be something around sending to the right mock server example.
Uh-huh.
I'm not 100% sure how to get ahead with that. It's in the documentation. I'm just not familiar with it.
Okay.
So I'm not gonna waste more time on this because that would be for if anyone's watching this. There's a specific page on the documentation that talks about how to pair your mock server example to your different requests. It involves some regex, etc., which is why I'm not gonna not gonna get into this now.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we've played around with mock server. Didn't get anywhere, but we did anyway. So let's go back to documentation, right? So question for you.
Yes.
What's missing right now in your documentation?
And the one that we generated?
Yeah.
I think. Oh wait, how did I see what it looked like?
So you can go to the Courier API docs tile on the left. Oh yeah, that works too. Actually, that's a very good.
Oh, it's like I clicked it.
There you go.
So our little section about what's up here?
So that's the top, like just the Courier REST API.
Oh, that's interesting. It only pulled out the basic auth stuff. But what I did on the other one that we have up here somewhere, I don't know where that went.
So someone Akechi is saying.
So we have kind of, this is the introduction we use on our other one, and then I have the authorization section.
So you wrote all these, right?
I did, yeah.
Okay, so you can just copy paste that basically, and
so we'll have to copy paste that in. What are these tabs? What do I have open? Is this the same thing twice? We're gonna close one of these. Oh, this is actually. Oh, hold on, that's not the one. This is the old one. Okay. So we've got the Send API, and it's got both endpoints. So if you want to send a single notification to a single user, we got /send. If you want to send it to a list, we got /send/list. Let's take a look at that real quick. It's interesting that it's always like, because we support like the two different types of auth.
Yeah.
It's always like basic auth.
Let me actually double check. I think it's not one of our top feature requests, but it's pretty high up there, which is supporting different type of authentication in the docs.
Yeah. One thing that's interesting, so with the list, we have kind of two different ways that we can send. So we can send to a list ID, or we can send to a pattern. And the way that we have it set up in ours here, if we go to the Send API and we look at send list, in our, but it's actually, it's not doing some of the join stuff. Oh, it's going to showing the list and the pattern. But here we have kind of a, we are going to send the by list, or you can send the by list pattern. And so we have like the two different examples, and you can see that like pattern comes up, but if we have this, pattern's not in there because you use list. So that's something that we're using inside the Open API spec. We're doing, I think, one of. Yeah.
Yeah, that's another thing we definitely need to add, the several examples thing. And again, so I'm browsing our Git issue repo at the same time.
Yeah,
Just
that's
trying to
okay.
check for if we have it.
Yeah, we got all our brands. The events. So that's a new API that's out there that wasn't before on the old version. All of our list API. I think we probably want to go through it.
The list is definitely there's a lot of them compared to the other.
Like we have some more. We can get individual messages now, and then we can actually go even further into a message and get the history of a message. Profiles probably stay the same. Preferences has changed a bit. So like if you wanted to, pass the notifications and categories, and that's just a repeat of what's up there. So I think everything's there as for like all of our endpoints and whatnot.
Yeah, and then it's just a matter of actually writing the content of the docs and make it look like just the other one.
Right. But if people were to go and to click on, once we actually publish this to our Postman in the network, they're probably going to be using like the collections to actually run events, right?
Do we want to try that to send some requests from Postman?
Yeah, we can do that. I just need to make sure I don't expose my Auth token.
That's a tricky one.
Because I don't think I have it programmed in here. But we can do that inside collections.
Yeah, so we can go back to the collection variable. So if you go again, collection title, so Courier API docs.
Oh, yeah, I got the copy, and I can just get rid of this one, right? I'm not using that one anymore. You're in my way. There we go.
3 dots.
3 dots.
Yeah, edit. And variables. So first thing would be to replace so what you can do, the initial value is api.courier.com.
Oh.
So if you click reset all at the top right, it should, now it's back to normal. And you could add a new variable, which would be your token. Just want to make sure that maybe you stop sharing when you actually paste it here.
Yeah, I think it's Courier Auth token is usually how we do it. And do I want to put this in the initial value?
Current value. So current value is the one that is local to your session.
Okay.
If you were to use a team plan and sharing with your colleagues, you would put it in initial value so they can also use that token.
Got it.
But because you don't want that to be shared with anyone.
Well, and we'll see how far I can get before I have to shut the screen off so I can do this. But we'll go in and I'll show you how you get that value. So inside of the Courier app, we can go down here to settings. And it's this auth token, so we can click to copy it. So it's copied.
Yep.
I'm going to go back over here.
And you don't want to paste it.
And I'm not going to post it yet. I'm going to switch this back to where you can't see my screen.
Yep.
I'm going to paste that in. I'm going to hit update. Okay, so that screen is gone.
Cool.
And as long as we don't hover over anything and actually show it,
to be seen.
we'll be fine. Okay, so we can make a call. Let's start. I don't know. We can go to the Profiles API since I know what my recipient ID is. Okay. So this is right. I can just go here, and that's going to put it up at the top, right? So if I put it in here, I know that the recipient ID that I use is Aydrian 10036.
Yep.
Yeah. And I'm going to hit send. Wait. Okay. So I think, so our authorization is not set up.
So that's fine. You can go at the collection level to actually make it for all of them. So again, collection, edit.
It's not going to bring back up that the
no.
Is it?
It should know. Actually, you may put it on the side. It should be on the variables tab by default, just in case.
Yeah, let me find out. Okay, so the three dots. I'm gonna click edit. It did not bring it up.
Okay,
Okay,
cool.
so we'll turn the screen back on.
So now you can go to the authorization tab.
Okay.
See, so you have some stuff here that is actually applicable for all your all the requests that are in your collection.
Okay.
So you may want to change that with what you're actually using.
Well, I'm going to switch it to bearer token.
Okay, and here you can write the what? How did you call it again?
Courier underscore.
Yeah, double curly braces, the name of your variable, and then double curly braces.
Okay.
Cool. Update.
All right, and so now we're inheriting from the parent.
Yeah.
And I should just be able to hit send again.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
And here is my profile. So this is all the information you need to that Courier needs to send email and send to a webhook. So this is what I have stored.
So you, from the Courier side, you take the profile to know who you're sending to, and then you get whichever information is relevant to the message you're going to send.
Yeah. So if you're using the /send endpoint, you can pass the profile information over in that call. So if we look at that call in the body, it didn't pull back all of the things, but you can actually pass an object with the profile information. So if you wanted to like set the email or the phone number on the fly, Courier will look up the recipient based on the ID and merge what is passed over with what we have stored. A lot of time, what I like to do is like if I'm doing a demo where I'm sending to an SMS and I have to use my phone number, I will store it in Courier so that way I don't have to show it on the screen. So whenever I was working with Joyce and we were doing her woof application, we stored her phone number inside of her Courier profile, so we didn't have to show it on the screen, but we could still get it to send a message. But whenever you're trying to send to a list, it's important that you have all the information needed to send the notification already stored inside of that Courier profile, because you can't pass profile data because you're sending to a lot of different people.
Yeah, that's. I was saying that's useful because I did a stream with Vonage, and I leaked my phone number on stream, as you do. So yeah, something.
Yeah, so I'm always trying to like not leak my phone number or my auth tokens, but it's hard. It's hard on stream.
It's really hard, and I mean I'm pretty sure on the stream with Joyce, you must have leaked one or two tokens because we always do that on our streams. There's not a single stream where we don't leak something. So yeah, we'll get there once.
Yeah, like whenever I was working at SparkPost, I could just generate like an unlimited number of tokens and use them and then immediately delete them. But currently the way we're set up, I need to be careful because to get my token regenerated, I have to go beg one of my engineering colleagues to do that for me because we support it, just not front facing yet. So
is it for now? It's a one per account kind of thing.
Yeah, but we're working on changing that actually this current season. So there's going to be some exciting changes with Courier coming out, hopefully around Thanksgiving, American Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah, let's say the end of next month. So fingers crossed. But it's going to be fun. Okay, so that was one post that we did, or we actually did a get so we could get the information. Yeah, what else should we do? Do?
I mean, so we did say during the stream we would talk about that lists API.
We did, yeah.
Do you want to walk through these different calls and talk about what they do different, like one of them?
Yeah, so there's a lot of
maybe not all of them.
And I've already played with it on the stream once with Danny, and so we do have some things already in there. But at the time, we were using our Node.js wrapper that we created. So we have a Node.js SDK, and you can do client.list list, which is interesting. But and then you can do Git. Naming whenever you have lists is fun. So if I was to run this, okay, I can uncheck these. No, I just want to call lists. We can pull back all of the lists that we have created. And so we have courier.marketing. Yeah. So we have interesting naming whenever we do this. So you can have up to 4 segments inside of a name. So they're separated by dots. And so we have courier.marketing.blah, because apparently I was testing something, courier.product.live, courier.devrel.live.
So is it a tree, as in like anything that is in, you can go courier.product, or could you also do like courier.star.live?
Yeah. So there's segments, and so that's why we have it set up like this. If we did courier.star, that would bring back a dedupe list of recipients for everything underneath courier. But we could also do we can do 6. We can do 6 segments. I have a hard enough time doing 3, as you can see. And I think our documentation talks about 4, but we can go up to 6. And if you want to do that, I would suggest talking to Nate. So we can do .star to do everything to the right. Or we could do something like, you see we have courier.product.live and courier.devrel.live. If we wanted to pull back everybody from live, we could do courier.star.live.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, and so there's a lot of interesting like wildcard things that you can do, and Courier does take care of pulling out all the people and deduping them to make sure that we don't send multiple notifications to the same person. A lot of interesting things we can do with that. Yeah. And so then we can grab information on just one list. So let me pull one of the list IDs out. We'll do this one.
And can you do info on with a star thing as well?
Can we do what?
Like if I do get list of list ID, and in the list ID I put like courier.star.live, is it going to list to me these 2 things, or is it just a specific list that I can get?
So the patterns are used during the send.
Okay.
And so like we don't have, whenever we're doing, whenever we're grabbing the list, we're grabbing them by ID. And so the ID is different from the pattern. So we can grab a specific one, and let me see, we need the list ID. You can fetch a list of lists by pattern though. You can fetch a list of lists by pattern.
Yeah. Okay. I think that makes sense. You can fetch a list of lists.
Okay, so we'll start with this. And right, so this is getting a specific one. Oh, that's right. Okay, I got it.
If you're doing like courier.star, then you get
right. So we go back up the lists. List, we can put in a pattern, and so we can say oh, there's too many things in there. We can do courier.star.live as the pattern here, and that will pull back the 2 lists that fit the pattern. So we got courier.product.live and courier.devrel.live.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. I wish I had more. We should probably create like another one to show off something even cooler. Oh, and then we can pull them all back, release everything underneath Courier by doing, it's probably really small on the screen, but we can do courier.star, and if we do that, we should have 3. Yeah, courier.marketing.blah, courier.devrel.live, and courier.product.live. Yeah, so we can use the pattern when pulling back lists. And that's a good way to say, like, if I use this pattern in the send, who am I going to be getting this information, or who's going to be sent this information?
So can you get the actual list of recipients for a list?
Yes. So let me. Okay, I'm gonna do the courier.devrel.live one. and we have this get route here that takes the list ID and that has /subscriptions. So let's change that and take off that. And so if we use this route, it will pull back every recipient that is subscribed. And this one currently has 2, and we're only going to see their recipient IDs here. And you can use the profiles API to pull back the information on in each of their profiles. So at the time, we subscribed me and Danny to this list.
I'm just thinking if we could do something with environment variables, just to so we could make a chain of get a list,
Okay.
and then get the list of people that are subscribed to that list or on that list. I'm not sure which one it is.
Okay.
And then get their profile.
Okay, that sounds cool. And this is all done inside Postman, right? So
Yeah.
we're chaining these calls.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we would need 3 of these calls, right? We would need get lists with a list ID.
Okay.
We would need get the one that you're on, and then get profile, I guess.
Yeah, we would have to do a get profile with the recipient ID to get the profile information back.
Okay. So because we want to automate them, we want to like dynamically set variables as we go from one to the other. So if you go back to the get lists.
Okay, get lists.
So when we send that, it comes back with a list of items. So what we're going to do, we're going to go to tests. So if you go to the test tab,
Okay.
and you can actually see on the right there's snippets, and you can click on the one that says set an environment variable. Should be the 4th one.
Yep. Set an environment. Okay.
So what we're going to do, we're going to create a new variable. So you can call it list ID, for example.
Ready?
And the value, so for the value, we have to get the response body, and then we can pass it and get the actual items of 0.id. So let's add a new line before this pm.environment.set.
Okay.
And create a new variable, var response equals, always. I just need to remember what's the actual, I think it's pm dot. So it's pm dot response dot JSON, I think. JSON.
Oh, it's got body.
You should have autocomplete activated. I'm actually typing it on the same time on my on my Postman, trying to see that I'm not saying anything bad. Okay, cool. This is the one.
Okay.
Let me go back to you. All right. So pm.response dot body or dot JSON straight away. I'm not sure.
We got body, and we got.
Let's do dot body dot JSON then probably.
Body dot.
Or just dot body then.
Okay.
Okay, cool. And then what we can do, you can add a line right after that, and we'll do some console log just to make sure that I'm not saying anything. Console log of response. Cool. So let's send. And if you open the console at the bottom.
Do we still want to use this pattern?
We can use that pattern for now.
Okay.
I don't think you should.
I guess that's enough.
As long as there's a response, we can actually pass through. So if you open console at the very bottom of your window, bottom left.
I see it. There you go.
Okay, so it says undefined. Cool.
Yeah.
So let's do pm.response.json instead, and then brackets. The round ones.
Friend. Yeah.
Cool. Okay, and now I'll send again. Okay, so now you can see it comes back with items, which is basically the response. So what we can do, we can do pm.environment.set, and for the variable value,
Okay.
we'll say response.items of 0. Let's say we just want to get the first one.
Sure.
.id.
What is it? ID?
It should be
Yeah.
ID.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just inferring from the body response that you have like above. Cool. So now if you send that, and if you look at your production environment, oh, actually, let's not do that because you have your. let's. How are we going to do that? Can we? Okay, so it's just for the sake of not showing your token.
Sure.
Go in the params tab.
Go into the what tab?
The params tab. So like where your mouse is on the left. Yeah.
Okay.
And just add a new value or key and call it curly braces. And then you should, how did you call the ID? Was it list ID? Yeah. Okay. So we can see it's here. We can see it's set to the value of the first one. Okay. So it's not the usual way to see your your variables, but that works. So we'll go with that. Cool. So we've got the first one.
Okay.
Got the value. So you can close the console. It's taking a lot of space, I think. At the right. Yeah.
Like everything is white. It was like, where does one window end? Okay.
Cool. So we've done the first one. Now, what did we say? We wanted to get the list of subscription from that list.
Yeah. So now we can.
So here. Yeah. So instead of list ID being that, you can actually put your variable here.
List ID.
Yeah. And now we'll do the same trick. We'll go to tests. You can actually copy paste from the other one if you don't want to rewrite the whole thing. It's going to be very similar.
Okay. So that was in list test. Copy that.
Yeah.
And we are doing the description. Okay.
Yeah. So this time we want to get the so the profile.
We want the recipient ID.
Okay. We want the recipient ID.
Yeah. All right.
And then it's actually, oh yeah, so it's just recipient ID instead of ID for the value.
Yeah, it is. Recipient ID.
Cool.
Yeah.
So that should be fine. You can send it again to try it out. And we can look at, so now if you go to the profiles one.
The profiles?
You have it in the same folder, I think, because it generated based on tags.
No, that's to see what list that recipient is subscribed to. If we want the profile information, then that's in the profile API.
That makes sense.
And so params.
And here recipient ID can be the actual curly braces. Oh, did we call it this? Oh no, you actually changed it. Thank you. I thought we didn't change the name of it, and that would have been messy. Cool. And so now if I send this, that should come back with the same. Okay, so actually, yeah, cool.
Yeah.
So we have these 3 requests. They're built out, but for now there's still a lot of manual work because you have to send them one by one. So one thing we can do, we can automate that. So one thing you want to do first is actually save all these requests. So you see all these orange dots at the top.
This is what my Postman usually looks like: a whole bunch of tabs and a whole bunch of orange dots.
So we have a new version of Postman coming up at some point, and we kind of getting rid of tabs, as in all of these tabs. It's going to be one tab to rule them all.
Oh, okay.
And everything you open is the same tab, so there shouldn't be like that much open. So you can go ahead, save the ones we need, close the ones we don't need.
Okay, so there's that one. Not this one. I don't know what we changed. It's probably fine.
It's one we need.
That's one we need. And
we don't need, I think.
No, this is getting a specific list.
Yeah.
So I'm going to close that. I'm not going to save it. This is. Oh, wait. Okay, so that's that one. And this is one that we need. So we'll save that. And I think that's all the tabs. Yeah.
Cool. So now we've done that. If you go to the title of your collection.
Title of the collection. Okay.
Click the arrow on the right.
Arrow.
You have a run thing.
Okay. Run.
Yeah. So now we open the collection runner, which allows you to select some specific requests that you want to send, and it's going to just chain them for you, basically.
Okay.
So you can untick the ones we don't know. You can go actually deselect all.
Yeah. Deselect all.
And go for the exact ones that we want. So
we need to do this in order?
Yeah.
Okay. So we want get lists.
Then we wanted...
and then we want the subscriptions for the list.
Yeah. And we want the profiles one.
And then get profiles, recipient ID. Okay.
So we're lucky enough because they're in the right order. You can see there's actually, if you hover on any of these requests, there's like a little thing on the left that allows you to move them around if it doesn't work. So now on the left, you've got the right environment selected, which is production. You can put a delay if you want to simulate an API that is a bit slow. I don't think that's needed here. Let's just tick save responses so we can actually compare what we get, and then click run.
Run.
So you can see the three of them, they run. And if you click, actually, let me see. So we did save responses. Oh, well, so the annoying thing here is that because we ran them manually before, the environment won't have changed.
Oh.
But if it was the first time we were running it, this would have augmented your environment with the right values, for example. So we've done it before. It doesn't really make sense. You should be able to click on the actual, for example, if you click on any of these, there's an arrow at the right. Yeah, so actually, no, you're at the right place. If you hover on the title of the request. Yeah, so click on it, and then you can see what's happening, what was the response, etc. So that's just a detail. That's fine. Let's change something, actually. Let's go back.
Out of this?
Yeah.
Okay.
And we just edit the get list one, so the first request that is being sent.
Yeah.
And what we're going to, instead of getting the first response item in the tests, let's get the second one. So let's do one. Cool. Let's not send it, just to make sure that we get the new things.
Okay. And then we go back to the arrow?
Yeah, back to the arrow, run.
Is it going to remember all the things we had checked? No. Okay. Get lists. Get list subscriptions.
And profiles.
And get profile. Okay.
Cool. So you can run that. And now if we look at the last call, for example, the get profiles reception, and we get at the response, we didn't save, oh yeah, we did save the response, but did we?
Oh, you know what? I don't think we did.
So you can go back to collection runner, click save responses.
Save responses. Okay. And we'll run it again. Oh. Cannot read recipient ID.
Is it because the second list in the list
the second list doesn't have.
Okay. So that's fine.
Let's do.
We can actually keep the first one. Oh yeah, I'll actually change that. That makes sense.
Yeah, because I know that those two have them.
Okay.
So we can save that. Oh, did I?
Yeah. So that's actually right. Yeah, that's the right thing to do, because then you don't have to reset all of the things. So this time it worked. You can actually see in the console as well that it's sent to Aydrian. So it's the same profile actually that it's sent to. And if you expand that, you can see, I think you have to click on it.
This one?
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's a response body.
Response body. Oh, what's this little, it looks like that. Okay. That's not pretty. Come on.
Yeah, that's not really. beautified.
Okay, yeah, but that's my profile.
Okay.
Got my name.
So right now, this doesn't bring any that much value. What I'm getting to is that if you have a workflow that you want to test and you want to make sure that this suite of API calls always return the same thing, a quick thing we can do is just add a test on that last request to make sure that the email that comes back, for example, is always adrian.demo@gmail.com.
Okay.
So we can do that quickly. Let's go on the last request.
So the last request is the one that's underneath
the profile one.
Profiles. All right.
And if you go to the test tab, so this time, again, in the snippets, if you scroll down, you'll have one which is response body JSON value check, if a bit higher.
Response body is equal to
right above.
Oh, response body JSON value check. Okay.
So we have our JSON data, that's the response. And we want to make sure that, you can actually rename that to check email. Yeah. Nice. And then, so we want JSON.data.value.profile. Actually, JSON.data.profile.
Oh, yeah. Profile.
.email.
Email.
To equal, and you can replace that by a string. Say it's Aydrian.
Demo@gmail.com.
Cool. So save.
Save.
And we'll have to do it all again.
Run.
Yep.
Deselect all. Okay, so get lists subscriptions, and profile. Nope, that's put
above. Yeah, right above.
Did they go into a different order this time?
No, I think, is it this one?
There it is. Okay, and save responses, and run.
Okay, so now you can see there's a little test that's been added, and you can say it passed. So that's where I was getting into. If you have some workflows like that, list of API calls that you want to try, you know what is to be expected from the API, etc.
Okay.
That's the testing side of things. You can have tests at every level of your request, have that collection runner do all the chaining for you and do all the variable passing and test. And then you have this summary view where you see this has worked, this has failed. And then there's other stuff you can do. We're not going to get into, but you can actually have a monitor based on that. If it fails, it sends you a notification. And maybe that, I was actually going to say, there's a use case there. We could have
the monitor send the notification using Courier
everywhere. Yeah, actually, but so there's other stuff you can build out of that. But that's a nice thing to do. I'm guessing there's, so I didn't quite thought through how that could be useful for the list. I just gave a simple example here of how you can retrieve a profile based on different variables before, but there has to be a use case somewhere for chaining requests in your API. But if anyone wants to try it out, that's how you do it.
And hopefully soon, maybe by the time that the blog post for this episode goes up, I'll have our collection in the Explorer updated, and y'all can start sending requests to Courier using our Postman collection.
Yep.
I think we're a little over time, but that's fine. Thank you for joining us. I learned a lot. I didn't know that you could do this stuff with the tests and the chaining, so I think that's really cool. Before we go, why don't you tell people where they can find you on the internet, and if you have any live streams of your own coming up, because I know that Postman is doing a lot of live streams.
We are fortunately not competing with you. We have a different day. So our live streams are on Thursdays, I think 11 a.m. Pacific time. We have one tomorrow with Dropbox, HelloSign, and Postman. Where you can find me, actually, let me try to do the thing where I point. So that's my name. Yep. If you type that in Google, you'll find my Twitter, my LinkedIn, my email, pictures of me everywhere.
The only Arlemi.
Yeah, exactly. So type that and you'd find me on whichever network you want to find me. Otherwise, arlemi@postman.com is also a good one to reach to me on. And yeah, that's it. Thank you for having me on the stream. That was very cool.
And funny thing about us not competing on days is whenever I set this up, I picked Wednesday because I talked to Joyce and she's like, well, we do things on Thursdays. And I was like, well, I won't do it on Thursday. So there we go. Thanks. There'll be a post out about this on the following Wednesday. And until then, we'll see you same time, same channel next week for something different. I keep losing my little thing, but until then, bye, y'all.
Bye-bye.